Este es el gran concierto de Arjona.
Mari Pile, una mujer puertorriqueña.
Toma dos.
Lupita Ferrer.
Hey, ¿qué tal? Somos Tribal Monterrey.
Estas son las noches de New York, México TV.
Como entrevistas, fashion shows. Yo soy Natalie en New York, México TV.
¡Wow! Entonces es un trabajo difícil que hacer.
Bienvenido aquí en la Gran Manzana.
Muchas gracias, Luis y México TV.
De New York, México TV.
Este es óleo y acrílico sobre lienzo.
¡Viva México!
New York, México TV.
Thank you so much for having us. It's very timely given what's going on, right?
Those who don't know, is an on-the-record conversation between city leaders and the city's community and ethnic media, which serve as a bridge between mainstream society and immigrant communities and communities of color. This is one of the many programs offered by the Center for Community and Ethnic Media, which also provides professional development, research, and overall leadership to this sector. You can find out more about the center online at ccem.journalism.cuny.edu. Our newsmaker today is City Controller Scott Stringer, making a return visit. We thank him for joining us this afternoon. And here is the format of the discussion. We'll ask Mr. Stringer to spend about 5 minutes to make some opening remarks about one or more current initiatives in his office. With all of that said, let's begin. Mr. Stringer, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Earl, and thank you, everybody. It's great to be back here to talk to you directly about some of the issues facing the city, and also to talk a little bit about the work of my office. Let me start out by saying that last night I was at a rally with the Muslim community talking about Trump's attack on people of all different backgrounds and races, people who are immigrants. And I have to tell you something, it was one of a sort of a proud moment for me when I could get up in front of thousands of people and talk not just as city controller to our Muslim brothers and sisters, but to simply say, as a Jewish American, I stand with the Muslim community. And I said that because when they come for the Muslim community, they're coming for me. And when they come for me, they're coming for you. And I have to tell you something, the energy and the passion was so intense in all the years I've been in and around this work. It has truly been a very emotional but very energizing time. But what I said to the crowd last night is what I want to say to you is the numbers don't lie. There's something that we have to tell everybody, which is the immigrant communities of New York City, the people who come from 150 different countries, have made an incredible economic contribution to the city. We just did a study that shows that in just this past year alone, immigrant communities earn $100 billion. They pay billions of dollars in taxes. They own 83,000 businesses. And here's something I think is incredible as well. Those businesses are not just small stores. They're actually people who are in every sector of the business economy. Immigrants are in 54% of entertainment jobs, 50% in medical jobs, 44% in finance. The truth is, New York City could not survive as an economic power without our immigrant business community. And my guess is that that's probably true in every major city in the United States and in many of the counties around the country. So here's a guy who's president who allegedly has a background in finance. Surely he must understand that when he talks the way he talks and threatens to build a wall that no one's going to pay for, including us, that what he's really doing, or even the land to build the wall, what he's really doing is just denigrating the entire country's economy and putting us on the edge. And I find that unacceptable. Here's another study we did about the Trump presidency, which I think is relevant in my role as controller in the city budget. We could lose up to $7 billion in federal dollars that come to New York City. Up to. I'm not saying we're going to, but that is the potential hit given the Republicans in Congress and Trump. I actually think the Republican Congress, they're more organized, so they're more dangerous as it relates to New York City right now. And what is troubling to me is that the dollars that perhaps are most in jeopardy, if you look at the campaign promises, the Republicans and Trump, the dollars that are most in jeopardy are the ones that actually support and protect the safety net of New York City. That's the money that goes to the Department of Homeland Services. 33% of federal money funds Department of Homeland Services. When you look at ACS and other agencies that are critical to supporting children, people who are struggling, all of that money, or a lot of those agencies are funded by those federal dollars. And when you take into consideration Section 8 and food stamps and child care, when you again do the analysis we did that shows what the impact of the federal government walking away from New York City, the consequences could be dire. No, I'm not an alarmist by nature, but it's important that we show two things. First, we have real jeopardy out there as it relates to budget cuts, and the city has to take that into account, and the state going forward. And two, it just doesn't jive with the other side of the coin, which is the more we encourage immigration and support immigrant communities, well, the more we're going to build up our economy. So there seems to be this disconnect that we're all grappling with. And also, I just want to, before I take questions, I want to mention one issue that I think is important, that yes, we're spending a lot of time on Trump and on what's happening in Washington and the stakes in terms of immigration, the wall, all the issues I mentioned. But we, as New York City elected officials, also have to do our part. We can't just simply look up and say, it's all Trump now, right? We actually have to have an obligation to do what we can do to help our economy. And there is an incredible, there's a challenge here. You know, the city every year spends $15 billion a year on procurement. That's where we buy paper clips and paper, or computers. We fund, we purchase, we hire law firms, accounting firms. We're a big business. We spend a lot of money. And yet of that $15.3 billion procurement, only 4.8% of those dollars go to women and minority-owned businesses. And there's something wrong with that. I've done a survey every year that shows the disparity and to show just how we are, in fact, discriminating against the business community in New York City, the people who are women and minority-owned businesses. That must change, and I'd be happy to talk about that today. But whether it's newspaper advertising, and I think last time I was here, we went and wrote the supporting letter for Councilmember Menchaca. As I've met with some editorial boards over the last few weeks, people seem to think that helped. But that, herein lies the problem. We have to begin thinking strategically as a city about wealth creation. Yes, the minimum wage pumps $10 billion into the New York City economy. It lifts up families, more rent can be paid, more clothes can go on the kids' back. But at the end of the day, the future of the city is, can we create wealth in all of our communities, not just in Midtown Manhattan, but in Sunnyside, in Southeast Queens, in Central Brooklyn. And the way to do that is not just raise the wage, but we have to invest in the businesses that will hire locally and create economic activity in all 5 boroughs. So I'm glad to be back here, happy to take your questions. And I just want to say, I know you work under some very hard circumstances. I know you struggle economically, but I also know that so many of you in this room care about getting real news, not fake news, real news. I think we have real news to the people who watch your programs, read your words, and that's why I wanted to come back today, because I need you to get my message out as well. Thank you very much for having me. Look, he's entitled to free speech just like we are, so he has a right to be on Twitter. But it is.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, before you go.
Yes.
What will happen to these entrepreneurs that are immigrants and are business owners, in case they have like an illegal status, will they
worried.
have protect their budget
Now
or?
they're protected. I wouldn't go into
protected?
specifics now. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
right now we're worried.
Okay, thank you.